figure. I'm building a GI Joe.
Yeah, you said you're building a monster this time around, right?
Building a monster, dude.
Well, it appears that way. You're looking good, man.
Yeah, represent.
Yeah, I'm on day 8 right now of my first go with 75 hard, so it's been awesome.
Doing it?
Yeah, it's been good, man. I'm down like 8 pounds right now, down like 1.5% on body fat.
Yeah.
Clear, focused, distraction free. I actually said no today to 5 different people who were like, hey, can we catch up or can I pick your brain? I'm like, no, we can't do that. I've got other things I got to get done. So that clarity's been helpful, man.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, it's a game changer. I've said it from the beginning. You know what I mean? I mean, you know the story and the deal. I mean, I changed my body radically, but like, dude, it changed every aspect of my life. Like Andy's talked about it. I've talked about it. Everybody's talking about it. It's like, it's a 90% mental deal. And the benefit is like you can get ripped if you actually work out really hard.
Right. Yeah, I think the physicality of it, the way your body looks, the way you feel about it physically is just a manifestation of everything that's going around up here in your brain.
Yep. Last night was a hard one for me. It was raining. It was cold. I hadn't gotten my 45-minute outdoor workout in yet. And I literally sat on my couch like I did last night. I was like rationalizing to myself, fuck. It's funny. I actually thought last night, fuck it, I'll just start over.
Oh, really?
Like I literally was like, I'll just start over, dude. I'm good. Whatever.
You're like, no, not doing that.
You already did this. You know this game.
Yeah.
And I got up at 12:45 and walked until almost 2 a.m. and froze my dick off and whatever.
I saw it. Yeah, I saw it on your Instagram stories. I was like, yep, yeah. I was doing that a couple of days ago. The hardest thing for me has been the water, though. Like the water is, yeah, dude, the water's been rough. Like I don't know. Yeah, I've done that a little bit. That's a good idea.
Some days, like, I don't even want to drink it. It's just like, I don't want any more water, but I'll throw in like Zip Fizzes or other Crystal Light kind of things. And I feel like if you start early enough, if you get up and like chug a bunch right out of the gate, you kind of stay ahead of the curve. Then you're not having to slam it. Cause dude, I've talked to people like trying to drink half a gallon right before they go to bed.
I know.
And it makes them sick or they're up pissing all night kind of a thing. So if you I have it where I like chug a bunch right in the morning, right when I get up. I don't know.
It's a good way to do it, man. Pace it out a little bit. Well, hey, here's my notes for today. There's no notes.
Here's
no
my
notes at all.
I don't do notes.
I figured I'm going to write some things down just so I can go back and review, but I figured you and I just have a conversation. A lot of people who are listening probably don't know. You were one of my very first mentors in this space, 4.5 years ago? And I don't think people know that. So I got to tell you first and foremost, before we get into the conversation, man, I just would not be where I am today without your guidance, instruction, you being a lighthouse, even outside of our formal mentoring, just you showing up the way that you show up has been invaluable for me.
Dude, I appreciate that. I actually found an old video of you talking about that a while ago, and it's been fun seeing it. I had somebody ask me the other day about like the whole, you know, when I came up with like the produce, protect, provide, and like, is that order of man? And it's like, dude, that's watching you evolve that concept into the camps and moving and the podcast and the whole thing. It's just like, it's been super cool. So dude, hats off to you for doing the work and adding the value. And you've had some conversations with some pretty fucking incredible people, man. Some pretty rad.
Yeah. I've been fortunate that way. A lot of people believe in what we're doing. A lot of people see the need for what we're doing. I know you're one of them. You know,
you saw it, you did it, dude. I mean, that's the thing. You did it. You know what I mean? Like you see it, you're leading from the front. And to me, that's like what I've just always shared with people. And you know this from coaching. It's like, dude, like be a lion, go out and do your thing. Like make your moves, do your shit. Don't wait for people. And you've done it. So hats off to you, man.
You know, it's funny because people will ask, you know, like, how did you build this? And, you know, I look at what you've done. I look at what we've done, and we've had good levels of success where a lot of people have tried similar things and fallen flat on their face. And they ask like, oh, well, what is it that you did? You know, is there one secret? I'm like, dude, I'm really like, if you could get into my mind, you would know, like, I don't think that highly of myself. Like I've got some self-esteem issues. Sometimes I feel like, who the hell am I to be talking about what it means to be a man? There isn't anything special about us. It's like, I'm just willing to say some things that I believe, and I'm willing to do it forever, regardless of who shows up or not. And that's it. I wish there was something else, but there isn't anything other than that.
Dude, I feel you on that. Like there's so many people that think that there's a magic pill, right? Like, oh, I get a coach and I'm going to get this magic thing and it's going to just instantly whatever. And I don't think people realize like how difficult, like the conversation that I've been having for a couple of years about, you know, vulnerability and truth and speaking your mind. I mean, you know, case in point with this whole coronavirus, I'm sure you want to talk about it at some point in time.
Yeah, we'll get to it for sure.
To use that as an example, like 5 weeks ago, I was saying shit that no one wanted to hear. No one. I was called a murderer. I had people wish death on my children. I had people wish death on me. I literally had people that were saying like, I hope your children get the coronavirus and die.
I know, it's crazy.
Just based off what I was saying. Well, fast forward to today, and pretty much every single thing that I was saying was right. It's just that people didn't want to hear it, right? It's that truth that sparks people. Like, you could be morbidly obese, and somebody's like, yo, you're morbidly obese. And you're like, oh my God, I'm so offended. And it's like, you're offended by truth. Like, you're fucking 600 pounds. Like, let's just talk truth for a second. And it's been interesting because for me personally, like, there's been a lot of conflict with me. You talk about insecurities and stuff. If you read like Steve Jobs' biography, Steve Jobs was wildly insecure, had massive demons, like depression up the wazoo, bipolar, like, you know what I mean? A lot of the most successful people that I know that are out there, whether they're influencers, business owners, they have a lot of insecurities. I am one of them. I have a ton of them. I question myself frequently, right? And over the last couple of weeks, it's just been like, fuck, man, I'm catching a ton of shit on this, like a ton of shit. Not like 3 or 4 people, but thousands of people unfollowing me and literally thousands of comments, like thousands of them. And it's just been interesting for me to sit back and be like, no, dude, like this is what you needed to say. And you said it. And now it's kind of like, I shared this the other day, in the last couple of days, since a lot of these reports have been coming out about bogus numbers and all this other stuff, I've seen way more people talking about it, right?
Yes.
It's kind of like the old thing with like Trump. Hey, I'm voting for Trump. I can't put a sign in my yard, and I don't want to talk about it at Thanksgiving, but I'm
if the pollsters ask me, I'm voting for somebody else.
Exactly, right? And so it's one of those things where it's like being able to share what you feel called and compelled to share, what burns inside of you, whether it's masculinity, whether it's parenting, whether it's politics, sex, money, politics, religion, whatever it is, right? There's so many people that say to me, and I know they say the same thing to you, dude, you say the things that I think and feel, I just don't know how to say them, or I can't say them, or whatever. And so I think it's a gift. Maybe it's a curse. I don't really know. All I know is like, this is all I know how to do. And I know that it catches some shit, but I also know that the flip side is for every one person that calls me an asshole, there's 100 that appreciate it. So, you know, interesting time.
It is interesting times. It's hard because everybody has an opinion and everybody has a voice, and it's all kind of equal. We all have an equal playing field. I actually just experienced this. I would say like my first genuine test if I could stand behind what I said. Just the other day, I posted something on Twitter about what I've accomplished over the past 4 to 6 weeks. Like, I'm proud of some of the things that I've done over that time, and I posted that, and I said, how about you? And I was expecting that people were like, oh, I've done this, and I've done this, and I'm so excited.
Who do you think you are?
That's exactly thousands, like 4,000 or 5,000 people ratioed on Twitter came out and said, oh, well, you know, you're an idiot. Look at your self-aggrandizing. I'm like, man, I'm just trying to explain that there's some positivity. And then there's this idea that, like, I actually saw this term thrown around the other day. It was happiness privilege. Happiness privilege. That if you're happy,
fucking
that's a privilege, right? Man. Like
white privilege, black privilege, purple privilege, fucking big dick privilege, fucking fast car privilege. I mean, everything's privilege nowadays, right?
I think you know, that's what they describe it as, but really what it is their inability to produce any sort of results in their life. And then instead of working on that, what they'd rather do is pull you down, tear you down, because that's way easier than me actually doing the same work that you or somebody else who was successful did.
Totally. Dude, I mean, I got in shape last year, right? I was always strong, and I was always in the gym, and I was always fit, but I never was like ripped. You know what I mean? Like 6-pack kind of ripped.
Right.
And last year, you know, I had major spine surgery. And so I took my body on as a challenge. Like, I'm like, no, dude, I'm going balls deep. Like, I'm going all in on my body. I'm going to build something that I never thought I could build. I never thought I could have a 6-pack. My genes, my parents were both big and overweight. And like, that 6-packs are for other guys. Mm-hmm. And I went on this fucking insane journey. And I learned how difficult it was to build a physique like that. And literally, like, I'll post pictures. You see, I mean, if you follow me on social media, you know what I'm talking about.
You see him.
My shirt off, and I'm proud as fuck of what I built. Zero bones about it. Zero. When I look good in the mirror, I'm like, damn, you look fucking good, right? I'll post that. What's really fascinating, to echo what you're saying, you know, I haven't had a single person, a single fitness person, a single person who's ripped, who was legitimately in shape, ever talk shit on any of those pictures. In fact, the biggest cheerleaders are those people.
No doubt.
The people that talk the most shit. Oh, why don't you post another selfie? Why don't you do this? Oh, look at you, whatever. They're all fat. They're all out of shape. When I went through my bankruptcy and lost millions of dollars, like, I have never had one person, and we both know a lot of very successful, very wealthy people. I've never had a single one of my friends who's a multimillionaire or billionaire ever speak one word about that. Make fun of me, mock me. Who are the people that do it? The people that are broke. People that have never made $1 million want to talk about me making millions of dollars. It's the same thing like with my fights. I've had 5 MMA fights. I lost 2 of them. The people that talk the most, oh, did you see Sean get knocked out? They've never been in a fight. You want to know how many of my UFC buddies have ever spoken one word or talked any shit? 0. And so, like, it's something like, as you say, like, as you look at those comments, you look at those people, none of them are speaking their truth. None of them are out front. And I think this is a huge lesson, like, for not only what I share with people, but, like, you're going to be judged. Like, you're going to be judged no matter what you say. No matter what you do, Ryan, like, you could say, I love my wife, and people will be like, oh, he fucking hates trees. And it's like, it's just the dumbest, right? I could post a picture of my dog and say, I love my dogs, and be like, he hates cats. Call PETA. It's like, no, dude, I just love my dogs. Let me fucking love my dogs, right? We just live in a really interesting time where it's this social media thing. This has given people a lot of gusto. It's given people a lot of fucking false sense of security, because those same people that talk shit online, if they passed by me on the street, they'd probably want an autograph. They'd probably want to take a selfie with me. They wouldn't say one fucking word. And want to know how I know this? Anybody who's watching this that doesn't like me, show up. Come to my warehouse and throw on some boxing gloves with me. I'm not hard to find. You see what I'm saying? And every time I've extended that invitation, and trust me, dude, believe me, there's plenty of people out there that beat my ass. But the people that talk the most shit are the people that do the least. Right. They're the people with the least amount of results, and it's way easier to talk shit about you and your life than it is to, like, look inward and to talk about mine. Which is why I think we're in the debacle that we're in right now, and the situation that we're in, not only with this coronavirus thing, but just our culture in general. This is why we're as fat as we are as a society, why we're as broke as we are as a society, why we're as disconnected as fathers and men. You know what I'm saying? It's a really, really, really fascinating experience.
Well, I think there's also this idea of, like, virtue signaling, that if I call you out for something that is perceived, even in the slightest, perceived as being wrong by others, then I get to step myself up on the scale of virtue. Or even worse, if I'm a bigger victim than you, then I'm more virtuous because I have it harder than you do, which is a real shame. Like, I can't believe this race to the bottom that we're experiencing with so many people.
Yeah, that's actually really good. Race to the bottom. That's actually a really good saying. That's a great quote, because it's true. I mean, it's literally like, you know, you share a story. Oh, well, you don't know about mine. Mine's worse. No, mine's worse. No, mine's worse. It's like,
right.
I literally know dudes that are still blaming the market crash in 2008 for why they're broke. I'm like, bro, that was 12 years ago. That was 12 fucking years ago. I lost millions. You lost millions. What have you done in the last 12 fucking years, bro? Like, get up, keep going, right?
Right.
It really is funny, though, how much people identify with that pain. You know what I mean? How it's way easier to stay in the pain of like victimhood than it is to, like, experience the pain of, like, going out and actually creating change. Because it is painful. You know that.
Either are painful.
It's painful, right? But it's like, which people are far more comfortable staying overweight and broke and victimized, if you will, than charting a new course. And it's a really fascinating thing. Building a body is fucking painful. It's not simple. You're sore. I'm 41 years old. My joints hurt, the whole thing, right? I have every excuse. I got a torn rotator cuff, both my knees redone, blah, 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 right? I've got 2 choices, like, blame all of that shit, and who surrounds me then? Victims.
Right.
A bunch of fucking weak men, a bunch of pussies. Or I show up and say, no, dude, I want more and I want bigger. And this is, I think, like, this, I know this is what Order Men is about. Lions Like Sheep is about. It's like, dude, go create what it is that you want. Build it. Literally build it, build the business, build the family, build the relationship, build the body. And it's fascinating how few people want to do it.
You know, and I'm actually, look, here's my thought. If that's the life you want to live, like if you want to be overweight, you want to be broke, you want to be mediocre, you want to coast, all the power to you. I actually hope that you have a successful life. I hope you have some romance and you have some fun and experiences. But if that's the life you choose to live, then you forfeit your right to complain about what somebody else is doing to excel. Because what they do has no relevance in your life. Like my success doesn't come at your expense. In fact, if anything, I'm paving the way. Like if I can show you that this guy can be successful, then surely you can. And I actually made it easier for you to do. I gave you a track to run on. I beat down the path so you can run on it.
Your people aren't broke. I've said this all the time. People are not broke because somebody else is rich.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how it works. You're not fat because I'm ripped. You're not broke because someone else is rich. You're broke because you choose to be broke. You're fat because you choose to be fat. Oh, but Sean, my genetics, it doesn't fuck. Here's why that's invalid. David Goggins, perfect example.
Totally.
He was fat as fuck. He made a decision. He went on a journey. He changed. And this is like, it's the old 4-minute mile story, right? Well, it can't be done. And then all of a sudden somebody does it, and now everybody does it, right? So it's that idea like, I can't do it because my body hurts, I'm sore, I'm fat. And it's like, that would work. That would be a great excuse. However, 2.7 million other people have already done it. How many broke people have you seen that now become wealthy? So your excuse of, I had a bad upbringing, my genetics, I don't know, my genetics. The thing that's crazy is those stories they're not logical anymore. And I think that's what's causing so much frustration and pain and anger, in our culture is like, people know that. You watch somebody who was broke become wealthy and it makes you mad. You're like, fuck, I want that, but it's way easier to stay addicted to the story over here. Or you see David Goggins. I was fat, I got ripped. And it's like, shit, I want that. And I think people secretly do. They truly, truly, truly do. But they know they hear the story, and it's way easier to stay in the addictive pattern of victimhood than it is to say, I'm going to go on a journey and I'm going to build something different. Because, dude, it is scary. Don't get me wrong. Like, it is scary. Like, when you go from being poor to having money, the people that surround you when you're poor, it's social contracts. We talk about this all the time. You're breaking these social contracts. You have to leave certain people. You have to leave certain ideas. You have to leave certain patterns. If you're getting drunk every night with your friends and you're replacing that with like work time and building a new business time, those people are going to be like, what do you think, you're better than us? Or fuck you, who you are.
Right.
So that it's hard to do it. It's hard to go if you live in a fat family, and you see families like this all the time. And I'm not trying to be a dick, but mom and dad are grossly overweight. They got 4 kids and they're fucking fat little turds too. Again, you can judge me all you want. I'm just speaking truth. And sometimes people need a hug. Sometimes people need punch in the fucking face. They're never going to change. You're not going to see one of those kids just magically just all of a sudden sprout up and build some muscles
right
until they leave the addictive pattern and they leave the addicted environment that they're in. And I don't think people realize, number one, how difficult that is, but 2, how possible that is too. I mean, we live in a day and age of connection. We live in a day and age where you have access to so much instant data. Gary talks about this. You talk about it. I talk about it. There's literally no excuse that's valid for not having what you want. None. Literally every single opportunity is out there. Every single tool is available for you to build anything you want, from a body to a relationship to a business. It's all there.
It's all there. The barrier to entry is never been lower. You know what I think it is, though? I think it's people's egos. Like, I'll give you, my own anecdote here is because you personally have called me out on some BS over the past 4 years. And
like
my
what?
first,
Let's hear it. What's the number one thing you can think of?
The one one thing I can think of is that I went to an event that you hosted, and you had a PT session that first morning, and I didn't go to it. And you were like, you got in my face. You're like, what the hell, man? You're trying to lead men and you can't even wake up at 5 a.m. and get here to this PT session and work out with us? And my knee-jerk reaction is like, well, screw you, dude. I don't need you. Like, I don't need any of this bullshit. Like, that was my reaction. But then thinking about it, I was like, no, wait, that's like that's actually true. Like, that's actually a really good point.
Well, it's hard. It's hard to hear that, but at the same time, you and I both know something, and you've experienced and I've experienced. Like it's really easy to have people that will support you and where you are around you.
Right.
You know, Emily Priscilla did a post about this the other day, about this whole, you know, you are enough idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it's dangerous, man. It's dangerous because there's a lot of coaches out there that will peddle this story like you're enough. Bullshit. Any coach that tells you that, any human being that tells you that is literally like enabling your mediocrity. They're allowing you to stay in mediocrity. They're validating, hear me, they're validating you being in mediocrity.
Yeah, they're encouraging it.
Validates your mediocrity is a fucking scam and a fraud. Get rid of them. Any coach that tells you that. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you're completely fucked, whatever. But if the idea that you have is like, I'm good here, and you become addicted to that. And there's never progression. There's never growth. I mean, Ed Milet talks about this. Dude, we're name dropping everybody in this. This is fucking great. Ed Milet talks about being blissfully dissatisfied. I'm happy with where I am. I'm happy drinking my wine, smoking my cigar, watching this sunset, but I want more. Mm-hmm. And I think this is what's really like what you're talking about. Like going back to that example of having people around you that will push you, man. You know what I mean? If you get offended by that stuff all the time, you got to go inside and check. But like, I want people in my life, I want coaches and mentors and friends that are like, yo, dude, you're slipping. Mm-hmm. You're slipping. I know you can do more than that. I know you can do better than that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was funny because I had one of my clients here in town yesterday, one of my one-on-one clients. And it's funny because he's out of shape and owns a very successful business, makes a couple $1 million a year, and trying to kind of wrangle in life and get everything together. I said, bring your workout shit. We're going to work out in the morning. So he came with me to work out with me and my trainer. And we went hard. I mean, I go hard in my workouts, right? And it was leg day and we're going hard. And he was trying to keep up with what I was doing in the same weight and the whole thing. And about halfway through one of the sets, my trainer was kind of like helping him up on the leg press machine and like moving. I said, dude, get the fuck off it. Don't touch it. You've got this. And in his mind, it was like, I'm going to rack it and then I'm going to pause because like, I need to do that. I'm like, no, don't fucking touch it. You do this. Like, do it right now. And it was an interesting thing for me as a coach because you could see his pain, you could see his frustration, but I knew that he could do it.
Right.
And he did it. And afterwards, he's like, fuck yeah, man. Like, that felt really good. You know what I mean? And I think that's something that's really important. I know this is important for you because you have coaches and mentors, and as do I. It's so crucial to change your environment. It's so crucial to change the people that are on your news feed, the people that you're listening to, the podcasts that you're listening to. It's so damn crucial to get the naysayers and the victims out of your life, because like what you put in here, it's the most valuable thing, man. This is real estate, 401k, IRA, cash money, Rolexes, cars. That ain't worth shit. It's this, man. And I'm fascinated by the human experience. I mean, this is like, you and I talk about this all the time, like just human beings in general, like how we are programmed and what's inside of our DNA. But more importantly, like how simple it is to just we put garbage in here and we expect beauty. Yeah. We listen to terrible people. We listen to gossip and drama all day long and somehow question our lives and go, why is my life so much drama? Why is there so much drama and chaos? Well, that's because that's all you put in. It's who you're surrounded by. Right. I want to be surrounded by fucking killers. I want to be surrounded by people that lift way more weight than me, that are in way better shape than me, that push me, that have more money than me, that are more successful than me, that are better than me in these things, right? And it's like, I think I always share this, and we're just going off on a tangent, which I love.
No, it's good. That's what I wanted to do, man. Just talk.
I think you would probably agree with this. This is something that costs you nothing. It literally costs you nothing. You don't have to hire a coach. You don't have to hire a mentor. You don't have to spend any money. You don't have to buy a book. You don't have to buy a DVD. The single most powerful thing that anyone listening to this will do, and the thing that's the most accessible, available, and capable of you doing right now today is changing your circle. Literally getting on and deleting people that you know. As I say drama, I know everyone listening to this already has a person. You already know. You already know 2, 5, 10, 20. And you know that they're drama. You know that they're chaos. You know that they're just victims, right? Well, it's my aunt, or I don't fucking care. Nothing is more important than you eliminating that shit from every aspect, from your visual seeing it from you're hearing it, you're audible, like hearing drama all day long. I don't care how smart you are, how badass you are. That shit will ruin you. If you see it all day long, it will ruin you. But it's something that people are so terrified to do, but it's easy and it's free and it just changes your entire life. Getting around different people. People ask me all the time, they ask you the same thing. Dude, Brian, how did you get all these interviews? How did you interview David Goggins? And how did you Jocko and the whole thing? And you added value. You stopped listening and hanging out with the fucktards, and you started listening and engaging with the killers.
Right.
And the next thing you know, you're in the circle of killers.
Right.
People ask me, say, how did you hook up with Andy Frisella and Ed Milet and all these other guys? And he's like, I quit hanging out with the assholes, and I started adding value there. I was on Periscope one day. Andy was on Periscope one day. I happened to follow him. He happened to follow me. And he made a comment. He's like, hey, dude, I love your shit. And I'm like, oh, I love your shit too. We became friends.
Right.
And it was just literally engaging in that positivity that sparked that relationship, which has led to dozens of people that I are blessed to call friends.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. You know, it's funny. My wife and I were walking around the property, and, you know, we're fortunate where we live, and we have this property in this house, and we were walking around, and we were walking back up to the house, and I told her, I looked at her, I said, isn't this amazing? Like, this is amazing. Look where we live. Look what we're doing. Look at this house. Like, look at our kids playing. This is amazing. And she told me something. She said, you know, it's funny is I've always wanted, since the time we were married, I've always wanted to have some property like we have now and live in a big white farm/ranch house. And now we have it. And my thought was like, that's because that was what was in here. This has been in your mind. And so everything that you've done, from our marriage to even working through and salvaging our marriage to helping support what we're doing here with Order of Man and having my back, and then doing all the things that you've been interested, everything, all of those little steps have led us to create the reality of something that you had just thought about. Like, this isn't just luck or fortune. Like, we didn't stumble into this stuff. Oh. You've been thinking about this exact house since you were a little girl. And now you have it because you made it happen.
You know who's a master at this is Conor McGregor.
Yes.
I did a video a while ago that's on my Instagram. It's on Facebook too, where he talked about visualization. And I did a podcast on this. And what's really fascinating is a lot of people that haven't experienced this think that what you and I are talking about is just luck, right? You got lucky. You hit the numbers and you got lucky. But like, the thing I loved about watching Conor talk about this, and he's been talking about it since he was a kid.
A long time.
He's like, I've been the UFC champ. I've seen it. I've seen the cars. I've seen all that stuff, right? Which is great. But what was really fascinating in the video that I shared is him in the dressing room before the fight with Jose Aldo. Mm-hmm. And there's video cameras recording this, and it's showing him throwing this left hook.
Yep.
And he's doing it over and over again, and he's stepping back, throwing this left hook. And he talks about before the fight, like a week before, he was doing an interview. And he's like, I have literally visualized him throwing a right and me catching him. He's like, I have visualized it. I've seen it. And this is a week before the fight. And you go to what he's doing in the dressing room, and he's visualizing this and visualizing this. And a lot of people think that what you're talking about and I'm talking about is just luck. It's just luck. Like, you just somehow lucked out. Mm-hmm. And I'm so radically obsessed with my visions, with what I think about, with what I wake up. I mean, my mirror is covered in quotes and sayings and things. The very first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I put Joe Rogan on. Yep. A single video that I shared in my book, Be the Hero of Your Own Story. And I listen to that every morning. I've got it memorized now. The reality is I still do it because I want those seeds planted in my brain. And I'm listening and visualizing. And sure enough, what was it, like 9 seconds or 11 seconds into the fight? Bop! And he hits him with the exact shot that he talked about. That's not luck. It wasn't luck that Jose Aldo just happened to get caught there. He visualized it so many fucking times that it became reality. Now, there's a big difference, and I'm sure I would love to hear your insight on this too. This idea of like manifestation, right? I think a lot of people think that you just rub, crystals on your
wish it into reality.
Just because you're a good person, checks show up, and here's all my money, right? No, like the manifestation is fucking seeing it and visioning it, literally writing it down, putting it on paper. This is what I will do. This is what I will have. It'll be a white house on acres with this, not just like, well, I want a big house, but
right?
Literally visualizing exactly what you fucking want. And when you become obsessed with that, your patterns, your work ethic will start to match that. You know, I was on the beach with Garrett, and I think you've heard me share this before. And this is probably one of the bigger lessons that I think I've ever learned. We're on the beach and we're walking down the beach in Laguna Beach, and there was this house that was for sale. It's like $26 million beach house. And I like I said, I think you've heard me share this. And when we started having this conversation about buying this house, right? And people that are listening to this, like, seriously listen to what I'm sharing right now, because if you understand this and you can put this in your pipe and smoke it and apply this, it'll change your fucking life, because it's changed mine and Brian's and many of others. We're talking about this, and like, the math to buy a $26 million house is easy. I can give a calculator to my 14-year-old and say, okay, how much is 10% down? How much is 20% down? How much is 10% down? 26 million, $2.6 million. You know what I mean? It's all math.
Right.
Okay, if we do a 30-year mortgage at 6%, what are my annual pay? I mean, it's math. Buying that house is simple. It's just math. It's just numbers. Anybody can figure that out. What we started to talk about is how you buy that house. And the comment came, and we started talking about the reality being, who do you have to become to live in a $26 million house? It's not math. It's not the math that's going to get it. That's easy. The question really is, what type of, and I started visualizing this, like literally visioning, what type of man drives into the driveway of a $26 million home? What does he look like? What does he smell like? What are his mannerisms? How does he carry himself? What are his morning rituals? What are his evening rituals? How does he work? What does he read? How does he treat his woman? Like, I'm being completely fucking serious. What type of man? And literally envisioning the type of man that lives in a $26 million home, because the math is easy. It's easy to talk about a body, right? It's easy to talk about a six-pack. It's easy to talk about a White House and property and making money and building a business and being a good dad. These things are simple. They're just theoreticals. They're floating around, and they're in books and written in Word and the whole thing. The real question is, like, in order to achieve any of these things, you have to ask yourself the question, what type of man, speaking just to men or woman, what type of man do I have to be in order to build the kind of business that I want? This is, and it literally, like, this is the exact business that I want. What type of man owns that business? What type of man buys the dream home for his wife? Mm-hmm. What type of man lives in a $26 million home? What type of man drives a Ferrari or whatever it is, right?
Right. Whatever your thing is.
Rides horses all day long. I don't give a shit. When you start putting that in your brain, like, I realize that the type of man that has a six-pack is the type of dude that will do the workouts no matter how he feels. Period. Because the old me, I'm sick, I don't feel good, I'm tired, my body's sore, I need a rest day, you need rest. I mean, all of the excuses. And I realized, like, the type of dude that has a six-pack is the dude that skips no workouts, does the work, period. Because if I don't, I won't have that, because I live that way. And so I started, like, realizing that as I was visioning and seeing things and what I wanted and how I wanted my life to be, it was like, what kind of man owns a race car and races with his son? Well, this is the kind of guy that I need to be. This is the type of thing that I need to do. These are the habits and the rituals that I need to learn and to exemplify. You know what I mean? I think it's huge. Like, what type of man runs a company like Order of Man? What type of man buys it? And I could tell you, and you know this, and you could say this, it's not the same dude from 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, or 5 years.
Not even close.
You had to become the man in order to do that.
I like this thought, because, I mean, you're talking about consciousness. You're talking about projecting yourself out into the future. One thing I see a lot of people do, like, I'm spiritual. I know you're spiritual. I'm religious, and I believe in God, right? And it's funny, because people who believe in God, when they take it to the extreme sometimes, and they have, because they say this, if it's God's will, if he wants it to be. I'm like, dude, as a father, there's things that I want for my children that I cannot possibly give them. Like, I can't give it to them. I want it for them, but they have to earn it. They have to go out and create it. I cannot physically give them everything that they want. Just like God cannot give you everything that you want. Right. Like, yes, he wants it for you, but you actually have to go out and do it for yourself. It's not enough just to wish it, or like you said, rub crystals on your nipples. Like you.
Well, if we're talking Bible shit, he also says in the Bible, it is not meat that I should command in all things. Meaning, I'm not going to tell you when to take a dump, when to cook your breakfast, when to go get a job, when to say this. I'm not going to fucking tell you everything. You got to go. You got to jump off the cliff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's part of the game. And I think a lot of like the manifesting crowd, I'm going to manifest. I can't stand, I see these memes and I like want to barf all over my phone. You know what I mean? Millions of, you're going to be the first millionaire in your family. You know, riches are coming your way. Next month, you're going to make an exorbitant amount of money. And it's like, what the fuck? What
yeah,
are you even
fortune cookie stuff.
Everybody that I know that's wealthy worked their dick off for it. Everybody that I know that's ripped works their ass off for it. It's not, you don't just go walk by the $26 million house and go, manifest, crystals. Right. Yeah, I have it. It doesn't happen. But that idea of like planting in your brain this vision of the White House, the acres, the $26 million house, whatever it is, you when you become obsessed with it, I have found for me personally, your habits change, your consciousness changes, the things you read, the things you study, the things you do. And this is why, and you know this as a coach, because I hear this all the time. I'm ready. I'm in. You know what? I'm in. I'm ready to go. Send me the link. I'm joining the group. I'm in. I'm going to do the deal now. And it's like, cool, here you go. Oh, shit.
Oh, wait, what? What do I have to do?
$147 a month. Well, you know, I got to actually go to dinner. I'll get back to you. and I don't even need to say it anymore. Like your words don't match your desire.
Right.
Your actions don't match your desire. You say you want wealth, but you act broke.
Do you think that
you say you want to be healthy and be present as a father, but you act differently?
Right.
And that's what I think is really beautiful about this is it's not hard to buy a $26 million house. It's math. The question is, are you willing to do the work to become the person? Are you willing to do the work to buy the White House on the acres? And then you get it.
Do you think it's, I mean, when I look at it, what I think it's unrealistic expectations, right? I think that most people have an unrealistic expectation that they can just show up or get lucky, or that, you know, once their ship arrives, then they'll have made it, and it's just a series of fortunate events. Is it that it's just a discrepancy between what they think it will take and what it'll actually take that keeps people from charging forward? Because everybody's capable of this stuff.
100%.
But they shut themselves off from it. Is it because there's a gap between what they think and what is reality?
I think that people are lazy. I think we've been programmed to be lazy. And ever since we were a little kid, we've been indoctrinated. It's been beat into our brains that somehow, some way, someone's just going to help us. And in many cases, some of us not, right? When you stop and think about it, like, it's not difficult to build these things. But what happens, like last night, for example, it was a perfect night. Most people would not have gone out and done it. It was raining. It was 30-something fucking degrees here in Utah. It was just a shitty night. I was tired. Most people wouldn't get up and do it. And,
right.
and the logical conversation, which is actually illogical, would be, dude, it's raining. Look, if you go to bed now, you can get a good night's sleep and you'll go even harder tomorrow. I said that for years.
Right.
I did it for years. I was that guy. And this is why I speak to it so much nowadays. I was that guy. And most people listening to this, they're that guy. When it gets really fucking hard, we make an excuse and we take a different route. And the difference between the guy that lives in the $26 million house, the guy that's got the freaking six-pack and is ripped, is when that conversation comes, when the demons are in there bouncing around going, sit down, just take a nap, lay on the couch, you'll be fine. It was a war last night. I'm not shitting you. I was sitting on my couch, dressed. I had 2 layers on. I had my pants, 2 pairs of pants. I had my jacket. And I was literally having a war with myself. And I can tell you the reason that I look the way that I look, and I will not, I'm not being presumptuous. I look fucking dope for 41 years old. The reason that I look that way is because last night I made the decision to go.
Right.
And that's the reason that I have the business that I have, and I have the resources that I have, and I have the race car, and I do that shit. And I don't say it to be presumptuous, to be a dick. I say it simply because people need to understand that it is not fucking simple, right? Paper it is. You write it all down. Here's my goals. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the gym every day. We see this every year, every December. I'm going to the gym. I'm going to make fitness a priority. And one bump in the road, one little pulled muscle, one little fucking thing. And what happens? Completely derailed. And then they're gone.
Right.
And then it's like, well, fuck, it's February. I'll do it next year. Next January, I'm going to do it. And that's the difference between the champions. That's the difference between the winners and the losers. Straight up. That's the difference between the six-pack and the dad bod. That's the difference between the White House and the acreage and living in a fucking apartment, living paycheck to paycheck. And I don't say this to be a dick, friends. I say this because you need to hear this, and it's fucking true. It's 100% truth. You show me a dude who's ripped out of his mind, I will show you a dude that does more shit than you. You show me
nothing else to it.
That's money in the bank, that ain't freaking out, that's not worried about this corona thing and all over the place. I will show you a dude that's willing to do more work than you. I will show you a dude who, just like last night, when most people would have tapped out, they're like, I'm good, I'm done. There's a difference there.
Right.
And that's what I think separates people, is we get to that threshold of pain and our mind says stop, and most people stop. And that's when all the victim stuff, and that's why people get depressed. And I'm a piece of shit. I'm not whatever. I'm this. No, you're not. You're just not willing to go above that threshold because you know, Ryan, I know this. You've heard Andy, you've heard Ed, you've heard everybody talk about this. If you can get over that hurdle of pain, if you can push through that one round, you're dying. You're like, oh my God, I'm going to die. My arms are going to fall off and get the shit kicked out of me. When you hear that ding, 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 and the round's over, you're like, oh. You're tired, but you're like, fuck, I did it.
Yeah, you feel good.
Okay, let's do that shit again, right? Give it to me again.
Right.
I'm addicted to that. I'm addicted to that because when I got to my house last night, I was wet, I was cold, I jumped in the shower, and I'm sitting there, like sitting in my shower with hot water. I'm like, there's nothing I can't fucking do.
Right.
And I'm talking to myself. Call me crazy, call me whatever. I got tons of voices in my head. I'm like, I'm a fucking bad son of a bitch, dude. And I got out of the shower, and I wrapped my towel around me, and I looked in the mirror, and I'm fucking ripped. And I'm like, that's why you're ripped.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just telling you straight up, that's me. That's my own mind. Is like, when I cross that threshold, it jams in me so much motivation and so much like power. This is why I talk about how do you eat the elephant one bite at a time. If you're broke and you can make $10, that's $10 more than you had. Right. Now do that again. Mm-hmm. And then make 20, and then make 40, and then make 80. And the next thing you know, you're like, I can do this. Holy shit. What does success breed? Success breeds success.
Right.
Period. If you want to be successful, start with small successes. Start with small little victories. You have these small little victories and you can make them bigger and bigger. It was a 45-minute walk, bro. Yeah. I put my weighted vest on. I went out, and there's a park right down here, and there's a loop. And I look at my phone.
Go for 45 minutes.
My daughter's called me twice. Hang on one second. Baby girl, I'm at the house. What's up? You good? I'm on that podcast. Are you guys done? What are you doing? Okay, I'll call you when I'm done. All right, love you. Bye.
It's
when
funny.
Baby girl calls twice.
You got to take care of it. You got to make sure everything's okay.
No, we roll. Does that make sense? I know that you know this too, having done a Gogi and other things like that. Where you feel like my bot, like this is why those reps yesterday for my client, like he could have had the assistance, but
you got to prove to yourself.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you're right. We've had James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, Mark Manson, the author of The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F and Everything is F, both of them on the podcast. And both of them actually talk about the same thing, that you have to prove to yourself. And every time that you take an action or don't take an action, you're validating who you are, your identity. So if you don't do something you know you should be doing, then you're validating your belief that you're a loser, a failure, a mess up, whatever. If you go out and do the walk at 12 a.m. and get the thing done, then you validate to yourself that you're not a loser, that you're somebody who honors his word, is committed, is disciplined, is physical, is strong, yada, yada, yada. And so every time, regardless of how small, it doesn't matter if it's go for a 45-minute walk or do an ultra marathon. Your brain, I believe, registers that at the same. Oh, you won. Doesn't matter how small or how great, you won the battle. And then therefore you're more equipped to win subsequent battles.
I completely agree. It's when you have, it's like we talk about, you've heard this for years, like when's the best time to make a sale? Right after you made another sale, right? And the reason is like when we're naturally surrounded by a lot of negative shit, negative people, negative media, negative news. I mean, hell, you get on anything. This is why I say it's so damn important to get losers out of your life, to get negativity out of your life, and surround yourself with positivity. This is why people like say, dude, Sean, how do you deal with all like the criticism and stuff? And people, because it doesn't, I'm not there for that. That doesn't register to me. My level of confidence is 10,000 times further than where these people are. So when they mock me and say, well, why don't you share another shirtless picture? I'm like, okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Because I look really fucking good, right? It almost like encourages me like to do it. I want to do it because I love sharing pictures because I'm fucking ripped. And like last night as I'm sitting there, it wasn't me versus Facebook or Instagram. It was like me sitting in the shower saying, dude, you're a badass, man. You did that shit. Even though it was the walk, it was like my mind, that battle inside of my mind. And that's where to answer your question, like, why aren't people getting results? Why aren't people doing that? Is they lose the battle in their mind, which is why I'm constantly saying the same thing. How do you change it? Hire a coach, get into a mentoring program, surround yourself with good people, fucking get good books, be filling your brain with good content, good data. I mean, these are literally books that I pull from every single day. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And this is the path that you've been on, that I've been on. This is how I've done this. And it's little wins and little wins and little wins and little wins. And all of a sudden it's like my confidence level, bro, like I don't even register these comments anymore. I don't even register what these people say. It doesn't even matter
at this point.
I'm in such a different plane right now. I'm in such a different level. And I don't say that to be a dick. I say it because I want that. I built that. I built that. I built it. I chose it. You chose the house. Nobody gave you the fucking house.
No.
Nobody's like, Ryan, you're a sweet fella. Here's a house. No, right. You're like, I did that. And I think what's rad, and you said this about Twitter right before we got on. You know, you share your wins. You share that celebratory feeling. You share that stuff. You share those victories. And most people, it triggers the shit out of it because they want it, but they're not willing to do what you did to get it.
Right.
They're not willing to meet me at the park at 12:30 in the morning to go do that walk. And so they don't have the results that I have, and they get mad when they see me having it. And it's really not that hard, friends. It's not.
Well, and not only do they get mad, but the other thing that they do, and this is a strategy you need to be very, very aware of it. If somebody is discounting the amount of work that you did to achieve the results, you have to block that out. I'll give you an example because I've seen it for you specifically. How many people have told you that you're on steroids. Over the right?
I knew you were going to say that.
Because they're discounting. That's a strategy to excuse their poor performance. They're discounting what you did, and they're basically what they're saying is, well, the reason he achieved the results is because he cheated, not because he earned them.
So let me use that. Let me use that logic. You want to really blow people? You want to fucking twist up their panties right now? Cool. Awesome. I'm going to run with that. Let's run with that, friend. If that's true, if that's the case, and I'm jacked because I'm just sticking a needle in my ass, why are you still fat?
Right, yeah, good point. Because you can do the same thing.
Why are you still fat? Think through that logic. Oh, he's on steroids. You can go get steroids. They'll fucking give it to you. You go down to the local fucking doctor. They'll give you testosterone. They'll give you HGH, HCG, whatever the fuck that shit is. So if that's the case, why are you still fat?
Yeah, good point.
Watch what they say, bro. Watch what they, steroids. You got to be on steroids. Like if it was that simple, don't talk about my body. The question is, why are you still fat? If all it takes is sticking a needle in your ass, every man in this
would do it.
If it's as simple as just sticking a needle in your ass, every man in this country would go find the fucking needle, wouldn't he? Mm-hmm. To look like me, every fucking man would go stick a needle in his ass. And anybody who says, no, I wouldn't, you're a fucking liar. You're a fucking liar.
That's a good point. It's a good way to look at it. Because then
it's true. It's true. Like I love reversing the logic.
Right.
Let's just use your logic.
Right.
If it's as simple as sticking a needle in your ass, then why are you fat?
Yeah, it breaks down the argument. There's no validity to that argument anymore.
Zero.
Hey, so
they don't have an answer to that.
Let me ask you this: Do you consider yourself polarizing? Because I'm saying objectively, like you're a polarizing figure. You know, outside looking in, you're polarizing. Right. Do you consider yourself polarizing? Like, how do you view yourself and the way you're perceived?
There's two answers to that. Number one, you've spent time around me.
Yeah.
Am I any different a person than I am?
No, not a bit. Yeah, not a bit.
No. And so for me, like I didn't wake up one day and go, you know what, I want to be this social media fucking guy and figure and influencer, whatever the hell you want to call it. I just started talking. I found me. I found my voice. I started opening up more. And the more I opened up, the more I liked it. I like sharing my this is like social media started for me as like a journal of sorts because I was really angry. I was really bitter. I was the gossip queen. I was the fucking drama queen. I was the one who was talking shit about my ex-wife and the whole thing. And it was by me banging my head against the wall over and over and over again, not getting good results, that I hired a coach. And I'm like, I didn't want to hire a coach, but what I was doing wasn't working. Mm-hmm. I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. I was angry. My anger was not giving me more money. It wasn't getting me the relationships that I wanted. And so in going down that path, his challenge to me was, dude, I want you to start studying in the morning and I want you to start sharing that. And I did. And it changed the game for me. And what's changed for me over the years, man, is I have become a lot more connected to who I am. My entire life, and I won't spend too much time on this, but this is something that I'm a huge advocate of, exploring your mind. I mean, I know that you know like Joe Rogan and Jason Silva and a lot of these other, Aubrey Marcus, a lot of conversation around like exploring your mind and stealing fire, plant medicines, different things like this.
Right.
Over the last, speaking of the book, I literally have a sit here. Over the last year and a half, like I've started exploring more of how do I get more connected to me. And I grew up in a single parent home. I grew up with an abusive father who was drunk, who like basically told me I was a piece of shit my entire life. And I didn't have a lot of value in who I was. And so in my early days, I was the yeller and the screamer because I was fucking scared and I needed to run everybody over. And it was a very negative reality. And I think that's why I went through my depression and why I almost blew my brains out after my divorce, is because all of a sudden, like, I wasn't saying anything and there was no one around. Where before, in my ego and in my inferiority, I felt good in that, right? And I've gone on this journey the last couple of years in understanding who the fuck I really am and why I'm really here. And not in some spiritual hippy-dippy way, like, let's talk about Jesus all day long. But I realized, like, none of you matter. And people don't understand when I say that. Like, you know me. You've seen me. Like, I fucking love human beings, man. I love people. I get my shirt off my back to whoever, right?
Right.
That's just who my nature is. I fucking love human beings. But I realized this is my journey and my journey alone. And if my emotions, if my words, if my voice are dictated by sources of anything outside versus inside, then it's not really me. That's a hard, I mean, again, we can go down the rabbit hole in this really, really, really deep, which is a really beautiful conversation. We should do another podcast on this. But like, the truth of the matter is, like, I fucking love who I am. And for most of my life, I always looked at myself as broken. You're really good at these things, but you suck over here. And I realized that's how I was raised. I'd go 4 for 5 in a baseball game, and my dad would, you know, all the kids are excited and happy because we won, and my dad would be like, you shouldn't have swung at that pitch.
Yeah. And
that's how I was raised. I was raised, especially in a religious community, where it was like, these things are really good, but you need to not have these things. You need to shut these things off. You need to not say these words, and you need to not talk like this, and you need to. And so my entire life, it was this battle of like trying to appease other people, trying to say the things that would make everybody happy and do the things that would not cause any confrontation or whatever. And I realized that I was miserable there. And I think that's really what we're seeing in our culture is a lot of people, they say this to you all the time. They say it to me all the time, man, you say all the shit I think, but I don't know how to say it. Right. I can't say it. It'll piss my wife off, or it'll piss my pastor off, and I can't say any of these things.
Or I'll get fired. That's when I get. I love what you're saying. I can't say it because I'll get fired, or I'll bring criticism at my work.
Yeah, I hear the word polarizing all the time, but dude, this is me, man. Like I love my fucking life. I mean, I have shitty days. I have days where I'm like, dude, I want to punch everybody in the face. There's days where I'll just sit in my theater room for 4 or 5 hours because I feel shitty and I feel bad and I feel like a piece of crap, whatever. I have bad days all the time, but like I've grown to really, and I hope people hear this like in the right context. I've really grown to love who I am, to love me. And I went on a journey last year. I had one of my shamans that I was sitting next to, and she asked me a question. And this is like kind of a personal story. I haven't really shared this with very many people. That's the gift of Ryan Mickler. He gets like the deep shit out of Sean Whalen.
All I have to do is be quiet and let you roll, man.
Yeah,
you just keep going forever.
I like it. No, but I'm opening up more on some of these things, and it's not that I'm not willing to share, because I've shared a lot of this stuff. But like, I had a very, very, very special experience where I'm sitting next to this shaman, and she comes out, and we're having this really cool experience, and she says to me, "Have you ever been loved? Have you ever felt loved?" And it was weird because like I was having this kind of experience where my ego was like, oh, sure, my mom loves me, my dogs love, my kids fucking love me, everybody loves me. Right. I mean, my friend Brian Mickler loves me, everybody loves me. And it was weird because I sat there for a second and I had a vision, and I saw my entire life. And I saw like when I was a little kid, to the baseball, to this, all the things with my dad, to religion, to being a missionary. And it was weird. I just had this vision of this timeline of my life, like all the way to here, even my marriage, my relationships. And it was like, I've always felt like love was conditional on me being something that I'm not, or me being something for other people, and then they would love me. And really, it was a fucking trip for me, man. And I think a lot of people might be able to resonate with this. Like, as we were kids, or however you grew up, like, love has always kind of had a condition around it. I have to be this person and say these things in order for people to love me. And I got really emotional, and I turned and I looked at her. I was like, no. And I realized in that moment that it wasn't about other people loving me. It was about me loving who I was. It was about me accepting the light and the dark. It was about me accepting that there are days that I just want to lay on my couch and have my woman tickle me. And there's other days that I want to go fucking batshit crazy and rip everything to the fucking ground and build goddamn empires. And it's like in my mind, in my soul, in my heart, for years and years and years and years, I was at war with that. Like, it's got to be one or the other. People ask me, let's say this all the time, like, what do you do? Are you a cowboy today? Are you a race car driver? Like, what is this? Like, who are you? You're always doing these different things. And one day you got a nice suit on, and the other day you got a fucking American flag bikini on. Like, what the fuck? and really, dude, to answer your question, over the last year, I have come to really, really, really know who I am and love who the hell I am. And I realize that might not make sense to a lot of people, because a lot of people don't love who they are. And this isn't about just verbal, yeah, I love who I am, because that's who I was. I would say that. And in my place of scarcity, I would have just turned to my Sean and be like, oh, sure, of course.
Right.
Yeah, I fucking love you.
Because you're supposed to be that way.
Yeah, I really thought about it. And I realized that I had never really felt love or loved because I didn't love who I was. And so and here's how I know that I resonate with this, and this is like my truth, is because I've had a lot of people over the last 12 months specifically say, dude, things are changing. You look happier. You look better. Not just physically, but like, I've had a lot of people message me that, and it's really flattering. I don't need that. It's just kind of data, right? Jesse Elder talks about data and how everything is just an experience and data. And I'm taking this data, and it's like, well, obviously I must be like putting something out into the marketplace for people to think that or feel that way, because that's how I feel. I feel better, And so for me, call it polarizing, call it whatever you want. Like, I love who the hell I am. I know who I am. I'm confident in who I am. And I feel like the more I go down that rabbit hole, the bigger the message gets, the more people I'm connected to, like, the better I feel, you know what I mean? And it's polarizing to people because most people aren't there.
Right.
Case in point, the coronavirus thing. I said shit 5 weeks ago that no one said, that no one wanted to say. It's cool and everybody's saying it, but I was the guy
it's okay now to talk about it.
And I didn't back from it. I didn't run from it, because that was true. Like, that was God's honest truth. That was exactly how I felt, exactly what I saw, and I didn't run from it. And so I think what a lot of people are looking for is that reality, is being okay with who they are, how they feel, knowing that, Andy talks about this a lot, having depression, like having depressed days. Like, we talk about it as it's this negative, and it's real. There's a lot of people that fucking have it. There's a lot of people that struggle with it, right? Millions. And you're not alone in that. And so I feel like me being who I am and getting deeper and deeper and deeper into really loving me and going inward has helped not only me feel better, but it's also helped the message grow. It's also helped a lot of people find lions, not sheep, and find the message, which in turn helps liberate them in a way and open them up. And it's like, and from permission, like, this is really what coaching is they're watching you live a life, and they're like, well, if Ryan can do it, then I can do it. Right. If Ryan can say it, then I can say it. If Ryan can buy the White House and have the beautiful wife and the family, then I can do it. If Sean can go from fat lard to ripped, then I can do it. And it's a beautiful thing, man. So I've never, truthfully, and I don't say this in jest, I don't say this arrogantly, I've never felt better. I've never felt better about my life, about who I am, my connection to deity, like my connection to my children, emotionally, psychologically, physically. I've never felt this good.
Yeah, it looks like it, man. Physically, mentally, emotionally. You know, there's times in our relationship where I've thought to myself, man, Sean's dealing with some stuff right now. Like Sean's in a place right now, you know, and just to see you over the past even 6 months, man. Yeah. To see where you've come from and where you're going, and it's inspiring to me. How do you strike the balance between self-love, self-care, and knowing that you're not there yet, right? That you're talking about, hey, I want to become a machine, for example. So we'll just isolate that element. You're not there yet, right? You're on the path. You're not there yet. So how do you love yourself and know that you have more room to grow?
Going back to Ed, what Ed says, you know, I really like it. It's a hard thing to really wrap your head around, but being blissfully dissatisfied, because I think people believe it has to be one or the other. You either have to be this really subtle, quiet church mouse of a soul, or you're this raging lunatic. And the reality is, there's some days I'm super chill, I'm super quiet, and there's some days I'm a raging fucking lunatic. And I think what's really interesting is knowing that you can do more. You know what I mean? Like one of my trainer, his wife is number 3 in the world. She took third place or fourth place in Mr. Olympia. I mean, she's a specimen of a human being, right? Just as ripped and physique as possible. And the second she came home from the Olympics, she's like, I want to do this, and this to change, to get better. Right. And I look at my life the same way. As it's like, the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know anything. The more I learn, the more I realize like how little I really know. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing. I feel like that's the humility aspect of things, where I'm constantly wanting to learn and to grow. But to me, it's like knowing that, like when I talk about a G.I. Joe, I know what I built before. I'm like, okay, well, what else can I build now? I want to build something better. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I took my business this route and I made $1 million here. I want to make $2 million here. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not the greed. It's not like, again, this is where people go back to that complacency, saying, right, I am enough, right? Like I got in okay shape and I'm going to stay here. No, dude, it's like my body is not the same as it was a year ago, let alone 5 or 10. And it's sure as shit not going to be different tomorrow. We're constantly evolving. You and I, our brains are morphing. Like that's the thing that's really cool about life, is like there's a season for everything, right? And it might be a season of pain. It might be a season of pleasure. It might be a season of this. It might be a season of darkness. It might be a season of light. But like, that's the thing that's dope, is it's always changing. And I think what we've been programmed to believe and to think is like, it's just this universal line. You're born, live. You might have a little spike here. You get cancer, and then you die. Right. And to me, it's like, no, dude, like, let's go here. Now let's go over here. Let's go over here. And all of that's possible. It's really possible. Like I looked at a G.I. Joe figure and I'm like, I want to look like that. Mm-hmm. Why can't I? Right? Like, why can't I make this money? Why can't I have this business? Why can't I live in that house? And I think to me, it's really encapsulating that and understanding that like, I'm going to be different tomorrow than I am today, because I'm going to have the knowledge from today. Right. What am I going to do with it? You know what I mean? And it's that constant leveling up and growing and expanding and testing things. Your body's like a petri dish. Just to give you a perfect example, your body is literally dying and being reborn all the time. Your nails, your skin, your hair, like it dies and regrows. It's like when you start looking at yourself, it's almost like a science experiment. I know it sounds really funny.
That's like a good way to look at it.
I got my blood done. I get my blood done quarterly. And I sit down with my doctor and we look at my levels and figure out where I'm at. And I'm like, well, here's how I'm feeling. Like, what can I do here? Like I'm feeling down or tired or I'm not sleeping well. And like most people don't give a shit about that, right? They're more focused on their 40, and I know you're an old financial planner, but like your 40-year game plan. Right. I'm like, I might not even live 2 years. Right. I want to optimize today, right? But think about your body. Every person that's listening to this, your body is literally like a fucking science experiment. We're all different. Your body's different than mine. Your chemical makeup. What makes you fat might make me skinny. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And if people stopped and started looking at themselves that way, my bank account, my business, my relationship. Like, honey, let's try these things.
Right.
Like, let's try this. Let's go to this thing. Let's go to a thing. Let's buy a jungle gym for the fucking bedroom. Like, we're constantly like, there's so much out there that we don't know that can help us grow and expand, not just in our mind, but physically. And like, that shit excites me. You know what I'm saying? I get excited by that. Where I think most people, they get scared by that because it has to take them out of that linear reality. You know what I mean? Which is why most people don't start a business. You know this. They're scared to start a business. If you're working a 9-to-5 and you've got a 9-to-5 job and you're good at your job and you want to go start something, most people won't ever leave that because like, oh, there's security over here. Well, the reality is like, if you're good at that and you go out here and it doesn't work, then you just go back to it.
Just go back to it,
right? If you're that good, then just go back to it. But what if you never do and you're constantly living with that heaviness or that weight or that trepidation of I should go do it, right?
We did the same thing since we've been out here for 10 months now. I had people when we were moving out here, oh, how could you do that? I could never do that. I could blah, 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 blah. Like, how could you not do it? We have this opportunity. You know, we put a lot of time, hundreds of thousands of dollars into this place. I pulled my kids out of school, away from their friends, my wife from the only home she's known. We lived in the house that her grandfather built. And we still own the place, but we left that. Right. And her family was mad at her because somebody else is living in that house now, our renters, right? And then we pulled our kids away and they're all disappointed and sad. Like, there's sacrifices that we made to be out here. But how could we not do it? Like, oh, what if it doesn't work out? Then we have a cool, cold adventure for 10 months and we move our asses back to Utah and we fall right back into that little assembly line that we've been led to believe is the path we need to walk. Yep. We can always go back to that, but we can't always deviate from the path. Like, these opportunities don't always present themselves. And when they show up, you better take advantage of them.
Because one day you won't be able to.
True.
And this is something that I talk to people about frequently is I'm not morbid. Okay. I don't wake up and go, oh, I'm going to die. I don't live like that. I'm actually the exact opposite. I'm like, I'm going to die. So dude, until I fucking do, I'm all in. Let's go. Right. But really think about this. This is something that over the last year and a half specifically, I've really started thinking about is I think about death a lot, and not in a negative, cold way, but I think about like, I'm constantly reminded and I'm seeing over and over and over again, like my ticket's going to be punched. Right. Mm-hmm. And people ask me all the time, what's your biggest fear? My biggest fear is something happening to one of my children. Right. That's number one for me. There's nothing that terrifies me more than that. But I've had this vision of my death many times. And it's me laying on my deathbed. And the reality is I'm never going to make it there, right? I'm never going to die on a deathbed. I'm going to fucking blow myself up with too much tannerite or drive my race truck off a cliff or something crazy. My chute won't open. I'm not going to be, I don't think I'll be like an old ass man drinking my dinner through a straw. But I've had this vision over and over and over again that scares the shit out of me, which really pushes me every single day to do what I want to do. And it's me knowing that God put, ideas in my brain and passion in my soul, and I squandered it. I didn't do anything with it. I didn't say the words that he told me to say or do the things he told me to do because I was worried about what you would say or he would say or they would say or mom would say or dad would say. And that fucking terrifies me, dude. Like, really vision that. Like, literally imagine laying on your deathbed knowing that you had all of these opportunities to play catch with your kids, to go on that vacation, to do those things, to start that business. And now in that moment, the only thing that you would want, like more than money, more than anything else, like is an option. And now you don't have that option. You're laying on your deathbed. You can't go make love to your woman. You can't go back and ride jet skis with your kids. You can't go back and race the Baja 1000 with your kids. You can't go back and build the tree fort. You can't, you're literally done. Dude, I don't know about you, but like I've had that vision multiple times and it scares the shit out of me. That's like what motivates me. People ask me, how do you do all these things? Like at that point in time in the game, the money does, none of that matters. The reality is I can't go back now and do anything. I could die with $1 billion and be on my deathbed and I can't buy any of that. Mm-hmm. And I think what I realized in going through my divorce and my bankruptcy and almost ending my life was like, as I kind of rebuilt 2.0 Sean, which was before like build this business and then try and live life. I was like, no, I'm going to build a life and then build a business to
support it.
The opportunity. Because I was in Mexico racing the Baja 500 with my son last year, and this guy comes up, oh, Sean Whalen, you've already shared this. Oh, dude, I've been following you on Instagram. It's great to meet you, whatever. He's like, man, this has been on my bucket list to race this with my son for years. I was like, well, why don't you do it?
Do it.
Well, I got 2 kids in college, and, we're retirement, and my wife and I are wanting to, buy a condo, and we want to retire and all these other things. And I said to him, dude, I can introduce you to a company down here that for 15 grand will get you the race car, the gear, the whole thing, race support. They'll fill it up. They'll fucking help you get to the finish line. I said, would you even notice if your 401k or your IRA or your retirement account was 15 grand lighter tomorrow? Would you even notice? He's like, probably not. I said, that's the difference between me and you, is that I realized that I'm not going to have another opportunity. And this is the year, and then it'll be next year, and then eventually you won't be able to race it. Eventually your body won't be able to do it, or something will happen, or whatever the circumstance may be. And no matter how much money you have, you won't be able to go do it. And I think that's the mentality that like I shifted into a couple of years ago when I realized like, it's not about money. It's not about the house. It's not about these things. It's like, I want to be able to die knowing I did everything I wanted to do. I said everything I wanted to say. And it might sound cheesy, cliche to some people, but it rings in my brain every single day, which goes to your other question, like polarizing. I would be remiss if I didn't say the things that came into my mind, because I know where they come from. The shit that comes into my heart, like sending the messages and interacting with people and being a good neighbor and being a good son and father, like that's the stuff that comes into my heart. And dude, if I don't do anything with it, then, I mean, as a Christian man, you believe like at some point in time, maybe I just won't have that anymore. I won't have these revelations. I won't have this inspiration. But the thing I'm the most terrified of is knowing that I'm going to die. And every person listening to this is going to die. And it's not about how big of a race truck you can get, but what if it's just taking your kid fishing? I was talking to my mom not too long ago, and, another kind of personal story. We were actually out at the race, and I said to her, did I ever do guys' night with Dad? Did Dad ever do because I was racking my brain thinking to myself, like, I never fished, I never hunted, I never rode dirt bikes. I never played catch with my father. And I was asking my mom, I'm like, am I just not remembering it or what? And she got really emotional. She said, no. I mean, basically my entire existence with my father is he woke up at 4 a.m. before my brother and I woke up, went to school. He got home at 6 or 7 o'clock at night from work, and he got drunk every night. And that was my father. That was my upbringing. That was my youth. That was my childhood. That's what I remember about my father. And at the end of the day, like I realized, like I remember that. That's what I remember. I don't remember a lot of the things he said. I remember what he did. And so I want to live a life where when I'm on my deathbed, I'm laying there. I'm just like, well, see you later, kids. Like that was a fucking fun ride. And I don't have anything else to say. I don't have to go, oh my God. Sons, listen, you got to be good men, and you got to like love women, and you got to open up doors. I don't want to do that. I just want to fucking know that I played all in, and my kids already know that.
Right.
Instead of leaving my kids a shit ton of money, I want to leave the world 3 independent children that make their own money, that build their own dreams, that are living their own reality. And the only way for them to do that is to watch me do that. I can talk shit all day long, and I can hypothecate about that, but the only way that I can legitimately do that is to show them that.
Right. That video that you did, I think it was a couple of years ago now, with your son, that was, I think it was titled, I can tell him or I can show him, something along those lines. That is probably one of the most powerful videos that I've ever watched. Like it hit me that deep, because that's so true. Like show him, live it, be with him or her, like be involved. I think you were talking about Ed Milet earlier. I think he's the one that said something to the effect of, hell is having to meet the man that you could have been when you die. Something along those lines.
Dude, imagine that. Really vision that. For every single person listening to this, like vision that. Imagine that. Like vision yourself on your deathbed. One of the things that we do with the Lions Not Sheep experience is we have guys write their own obituaries. Mm-hmm. It's a scary thing. It's an interesting proposition to actually imagine writing your obituary right now. Like, what would your wife say? What would your woman say? What would your family say about you? Because the obituary is describing your life and who you are and all of these other things. But at the end of the day, like, But what would that look like? Does that make sense? Hang on one second.
Yeah.
Please. Oh, it's the UPS guy. Anyways, when you stop and think about that, it's scary, man, which is why I live the life that I do. You know what I mean? As I realize I might not get another chance at this conversation with my son or my daughter. I might not get another Baja race.
Yeah. I mean, it's a scary proposition, but it can be used as fuel to do the right thing. Well, Sean, I had other plans to talk about coronavirus and all these other crazy things. Maybe we'll do a round two.
I'm in, there's no time limit on this shit.
Maybe we'll do a round two here in the very near future to talk about that, because we do need to address some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, before we go and wrap things up today, let me ask you a couple other questions. The first one, what does it mean to be a man?
Just look at me.
That's it. Here I am.
I don't remember what I answered last time. It'd be interesting to see, because I know you asked me that question
Yeah,
before.
we'll have to go back.
I think being a man is being able to look at yourself in the mirror and being damn fucking proud of who you are.
I like that.
Knowing who you are and being damn proud of who you are.
Right on. How do we connect with you, man? Where do we got to go?
Social media, Google.
Find you. We can find you. We'll
Facebook,
sync everything up.
Instagram, Sean Whalen. Y'all know the game, man.
Instagram is you've got almost 100,000 people, I think I saw following you, connected with you on Instagram.
Super cool. Thank
Sweet,
you to everybody for the support.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, I just hit 100,000 on Instagram.
Here's what I think is, I've really appreciated who you are, how you've shown up. I don't always agree with you. But I think overwhelmingly, I'm inspired by the fact that you're willing to share what you believe. You're willing to stand by it. You're willing to honor what you believe, fight for what you believe. And at a minimum, challenge people to think differently about their life, the way that they're showing up, how they're showing up, what they're doing. And if that's the minimum that you're doing, like, that's a damn good thing. You know what I mean?
We need to ask more questions, man. Men especially need to ask more questions. We need to be more engaged in exploration and trying to flex our ego and our pride. There's like, the very best leaders have mastered the art of following. And if you want to be a better leader, if you want to be a lion, if you want to be a man, if you want to like lead your family, you've got to like ask more questions. You've got to be able to follow dictates of God, of whatever it is, and that's something that's super, super, super important to me.
Right on, brother. Well, we'll let you go. Love you, brother.
Thanks,
appreciate
bro.
all you do.
Appreciate you, man. We'll talk soon.